Good morning, children. Today we are going to start our third chapter, that is clauses. So in our last classes we had one by one talked about the parts of sentences. First of all, we had discussed about what is sentence. Then also we had discussed about the parts of sentences. Now we got to know that in our sentence there are two parts, that is subject and predicate. But other than subject and predicate, there are also other two parts which is called phrases and clauses. So in our last class we had got to know some of the things about phrases. Now what are phrases? See, first of all, both clause and phrase, they are parts of sentence. Okay. Now phrases does not give us complete meaning. They just give a partial meaning. You will just get some sense but not the complete sense. Now there are some things by which you can distinguish between phrases and clause. That is, phrases will not be containing any finite verb, whereas clauses will be containing a subject and a predicate, and also it will have a finite verb. Okay. Phrases will not have subject or predicate or any finite verb, but clauses will have a subject will be present there, and a finite verb. Okay, let's see an example. Oh yes, one more thing, but phrases can contain non-finite verbs. That means participle can be there, gerund can be there. We'll talk in detail. First, let us talk about this particular thing, phrases and clause. See, phrases don't have subject, they don't have verb. Okay, finite verb. They may contain any non-finite verb but not finite verb. Now, if we talk about clause, because phrases we have already discussed, if we talk about clause, how to know that what clauses are, then they form a part of a sentence and they contain a subject and a finite verb. Okay, this one. Now let's take one example. One more thing. When you are when you are watching this video, please make sure that your book is in front of you, because I had told you that you can either pause also this video and you can search for your book and then come back, and please keep your book in front of you, because if you don't see the book, if you don't see the words, you will not be able to understand. Okay, so just pause the video. If you don't have the book right now with you, then you just get the book and then you start. Okay, so in our example, if you see, it's written Mr. Awasthi is a man of great wealth. Okay, now this is a sentence. If we have to talk about our previous class, that, and from here we have to find out that which is our phrase, then which is our phrase? Of great wealth. Yes, of great wealth, what it is? Do you know anything about or what are we talking about? No, we don't get any meaning here. It's very partial, it's incomplete. Yes, so of great wealth becomes our phrase. Now if this particular thing we have to change to clause, then see, for being a phrase there was no need of any subject, and if we see here, we don't find any subject. Of great wealth, there is no subject, there is no verb, there is no finite verb, there is just a partial meaning. Okay, there is just a group of some words. Now if we see the second sentence, now, then it is written Mr. Awasthi is a man who wants great wealth. What are the things added here? Who and owns. Okay, so as important to our clause, what is needed for a clause? A subject. We have a subject who, and we need a finite verb which is owns. And if we consider in that way, then great wealth, it can also be regarded, owns great wealth, that can be regarded as our predicate. So now you read these sentences very carefully. See, in both the sentences, the words in colored letters perform the same function. See, meaning is same. In both the sentences, meaning is same. Of great wealth, who wants great wealth? Meaning is same. Okay, there is no difference. But the way how it is written, that is different. They describe the noun man. If we take the sentence as a whole, then if we see the sentence as a whole, then it is describing about the man, about Mr. Avasthi. We can easily recognize the words of great wealth to be a phrase, as I said, and in the sentence 2, in colored letters, has a finite verb of its own, and it also has a subject who. We are talking about, when we are using the word who, that means we are talking about a person, because who is the word which is used to to denote a person, right? So we have a subject here. So that means when we have a subject, when we have a finite verb, that means it makes a clause. Okay, I hope you have understood about phrase and clause, because here only itself you are getting both phrase and clause meaning. Okay, now see here, a clause has only one finite verb in it. If it's a clause, then there will be one finite verb only. There will be many clauses, but in a clause there will be one finite verb. Don't be confused in this, that this verb is also there, this verb is also there, then what it is, then there may be one or two clauses. No, only one clause, one finite verb. Okay, now you might be thinking that what is finite verb, right? Finite verb is something that changes its form, okay, according to person, number or tense. Is it clear? Finite verbs are those verbs which changes their form according to number, person, singular person, plural person, number, and tense. Present, past, future, continuous, anything. Tense should be present there. Okay, tense should be present there, and person or number should be present there. Okay, now non-finite verbs are what? How will you distinguish between these two? Don't be confused. I will give you a detail on this finite verb and non-finite verb. Now I am just explaining this to you. If you while you see that detail writing of that, then you will understand properly. And yeah, non-finite verb is that which does not change its form. Now in our last class also we had talked about this, that finite verb might be containing of participle, gerund. Okay, so what are those? Non-finites can be containing of three things. There are three types of non-finite, whereas finites does not have any type. Okay, finite verb does not have any type, but non-finite verb has three types. One, infinitive. Infinitive we know, to plus verb. Okay, to plus verb. Second, gerund, verb plus ing. Okay, and third is the past participle. Suppose, for example, okay, let me give an example. Infinitive means to plus verb. Let's take a verb here, play. Let's take play. So to play becomes our infinitive. Then gerund is what? Verb plus ing. Play plus ing makes it playing. Now if this playing comes with, if in the sentence, if you see that it is showing you past continuous, okay, or any present continuous, past continuous, any continuous, then it is finite. Don't be confused in this. But if it is not showing any continuous tense form, then it is gerund. And one more thing, yeah, present participle or past participle, if it's coming, present participle can also be like that, verb plus ing, and past participle will be what? For example, played. Now you will have to see that if this played, it is coming as changed form of the verb or not, for distinguishing or for differentiating between finite verb and non-finite verb. Always remember one thing, finite verbs are those which changes its form, okay, and non-finites will be those which does not change its form. For example, let me give you one example of finite. Our verb was, let's take another verb, cook. So now I am telling you one sentence. She cooks only on the weekends. This is finite verb. What is our verb? Cook. But cooks. Why we are writing cooks? Because S is used because our number is what? She. Third person singular number. Okay. So as soon as she is added, so it becomes cooks. Yes. And that is how cook changes its form to cooks. So then it becomes our finite verb. Clear? Now let me give another example. They are leaving tomorrow. What is this? What sentence is this? I'm sorry, what tense is this? Here it has changed its form. What is our verb here? They are leaving tomorrow. What is our verb here? Our verb is leave. L-E-A-V-E. Yes? Now, if we see the sentence, what tense is present here? They are leaving tomorrow. Present continuous. So, when a verb is changing its form to according to person, number, then tense, past, present, future, or continuous, then it is finite verb. If it is not changing, for example, if it's coming in infinitive, I want to play. To play, it's our infinitive. Okay. Then she knows how to cook. To cook. She knows how to cook. She knows how to cook rice. What is this? Non-finite. I'll give you a detail of this. You will get from that. Okay. Now let's talk about. I hope this thing was clear to you. If not, then you will understand from that, which I'll give you a note on this finite verb and non-finite verb. Okay. Then, as we were talking about, let's come to our main discussion, that is about phrase and clause. That phrase, we were talking about finite verb in this. Finite verb is important in phrase. Okay, sorry. Finite verb is important in clause, and non-finite verbs are important in phrase, because non-finite verbs will be present in phrase and finites will be present in clause. Both a phrase and a clause are only part of sentence, but now let's keep it in order. Sentence, phrase, clause. Okay. Sentence might be containing of both phrase and clause. In sentence, there can be, there will be at least one finite verb. Okay. In clause there will be one finite verb. In sentence there will be at least one. We are talking about finite verb right now, okay? In phrase there is no finite verb. Clause there is finite verb. There will be one finite verb, as I told you. And in sentence there will be at least one. At least one means there can also be more than one. Okay? A sentence may be containing of 2 or 3 finite verbs. It means a sentence can be containing of 2 or 3 more clauses. Okay? Now there is one more distinction given to you here. I think this one we had talked about in our difference between phrase and clause also, that a phrase cannot stand alone. See, if we write only of great wealth, do you understand anything? No, you don't. So, phrase cannot stand alone. If you just write of great wealth, it means nothing. Okay? A sentence can stand alone. Sentence is a sentence. See, for example, of great wealth. That was the phrase. It cannot stand alone. It cannot. We just cannot write of great wealth. But if we write Mr. Awasthi is a man of great wealth, we do understand. That means a sentence is a standalone statement. A statement or a sentence can stand alone. If we just see a sentence, that means we can understand something from there. But clause may be or may not be standing alone. That means in a clause there can be we can just simply write for example, if you see your second sentence, Mr. Awasthi is a man who owns great wealth. Either we can write who owns great wealth, we can leave it like this, or we can also add something like this. You just read this sentence. I am reading it out for you. A clause may or may not be able to stand on its own. If it does, if it stands alone, it means that it is also a sentence. If a clause is present, it means it is a sentence. It is also a sentence, or it is a part of a sentence. If it does not, it must be a part of a longer sentence made of 2 or more other clauses. I know you have got quite confused about this. For this, you need to know that what are the kinds of clauses, then it will be totally clear to you. Now see, there are 2 kinds of clauses. I had given you this particular thing in your previous year also. If you remember, in English main book, you had got this chapter, Arthur and the Sword. After that, we had done some grammatical activity. We had learned what are phrase and clause, and we had also known about what is simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence. There you will find everything. There I had mentioned you everything. From there only I will give you. Now we had talked at that time that what are principal clause, and there are 2 types of clause. There is principal clause, or that is also known as independent clause. Okay, principal clause or independent clause. By the name itself you can only know that it is independent. It does not need any support. And subordinate clause or dependent clause. Remember, now if you can remember, then we had already talked about in a previous year. So when we talk about principal clause, that means what? It makes a complete sense independently. For example, they saw movies. This is a clause. They saw movies. They is what? Subject. Saw is what? Finite verb. Movies is what? Saw movies is what? Predicate. So what are the things we need in our clause? We need a subject, we need a finite verb, we need a predicate. We have all these things. That means it is a principal clause. Okay. And by the nature of the of this particular sentence, by the nature of this particular clause, they saw movies, you can understand that no other meaning is required. You are done. They saw movies. Your meaning is clear. You have got the idea. They saw movies. That's enough. Nothing more is needed. That means it is principal clause. Another type is what? Subordinate clause or dependent clause. Now what is that? It's the same thing, opposite. Independent means does not need to be dependent, and subordinate means it is dependent. Now, when I saw you, when I say this, when I saw you, it means you are waiting for something, right? After I have said, when I saw you, that means something is going, something you are expecting from me to say after that. What after that? When I saw you, then what? Do you get any meaning? Do you think that I have said totally everything? No, I have not. That means you are waiting. When I saw you, then what? It means this is also a clause, but this is a subordinate or dependent clause. See, these two clauses, they are having two types: principal clause and subordinate clause. This have their, both of these two clauses have their different names. Principal clause is also known as independent clause, and subordinate clause is also known as dependent clause. Clear? By the name itself you can understand. So in this way your third number point is also clear to you. A clause may or may not be able to stand alone. If it stands alone, then it is also a sentence. See, if it stands alone, it is also a sentence. If we see this principal clause example, they saw movies. This is a clause, but this can also be a sentence. You can also call it a sentence. If it does not, that means it must be a part of a longer sentence. Now let's talk about that. When I saw you, you are waiting, right? When I saw you, you were reading a book. Now the sentence is complete. Now you get the complete meaning of my statement, what I say. Is it clear to you now? When I saw you, you were reading, or you were reading when I saw you. Now the sentence is complete and proper. Let's take one more example. Before I saw you, you can attend the workshop. Okay, let's take one more. If you are a doctor, if you are a doctor, then what? Meaning is not there. You can attend the workshop if you are a doctor. If you are a doctor, then only you can attend the workshop. Is it clear now to you? See, the things which we have discussed today are phrase and clause. What are the things needed in phrase and clause? Yes. Then we have talked about the types of clauses, principal clause and subordinate clause. And for clauses, the main important thing that is needed is subject, finite verb and predicate. Predicate may be needed or may not be needed, but most important thing is subject and a finite verb. Okay. Based on finite verb, I have already said you the meaning. I'll give a detail on that also. You can read from there. Okay. Let's stop today here up to this, because if I go further more, no, you will all be just confused. So for now, just remember one thing. Many of you also had asked me about this, that how to know that what is which are clause and which are phrase. So phrases give you incomplete meaning. Okay, it does not have any finite verb, it does not have any subject. Okay, it can contain non-finite verb, can contain, may contain. Okay, maybe, may not be. But clauses, importantly, it needs a subject and a finite verb. Clear? Now, clause will have a finite verb always. Phrase does not have finite verb. Clause has one finite verb, and sentence will at least have one finite verb. That means a sentence can contain more than one finite verb also. Now, another distinction is phrase cannot stand alone, sentence can stand alone. We are talking about three things at a time. Okay, when we are distinguishing the thing, when we are talking about these three things, because we are talking about three things right now: sentence, clause, and phrase. Sentence is the first thing. From this sentence, we are getting two more things, that is phrase and clause. So, sentence contains a finite verb, at least one finite verb. It means that there can be more than one. So then coming to the parts clause and phrase. Clause contain one finite verb, phrase does not contain any finite verb. Okay, this is the one thing. Second point is that sentence. Now we are talking about sentence. Sentence can stand alone. If we see a sentence, we can get a meaning by itself. Phrase, we do not get any meaning from that. Whereas from clause, we may see that it stands alone or it may not stand alone. If it does, it can be a sentence also. If it does not, then it may mean that it is a part, it is one part of the sentence. And a sentence might be containing of 2, 3, 4, 5, many clauses. I hope this is clear to you. After this video, you will not have to do any exercise right now. Just wait for the things, which I'm going to give you. After that, I'll give you one exercise to do regarding clauses only. And if by now also you have any problem regarding phrase and clause, then please do tell me about it, because I know phrase and clause is clear to you now. By now at least it should be clear to you. And if regarding that types of clauses and phrases, that adjective, adverb, those, because we have not done about the clauses right now, so together we can differentiate and we can do it. So yeah, you just go through this video. If any you will be having a little bit problem, but while you will be reading this first page, okay, both the first page of your clause and first this part only of your phrase, then it will be totally clear to you. If you read this, then it will be totally clear to you. Okay, until I give the next things to you, just wait for the next notes which I will be giving to you, and go through this video, and also just read your book, that first paragraph of phrase and clauses, first page. Okay, till then, stay safe. Thank you.